There is a time in every man's life when he finally realizes what he's lost, not merely a person, but a presence. It doesn't occur the day she leaves. It doesn't occur when the final argument is over or her number goes off his phone. It occurs later, in the quiet, in the stillness, in that place where her laughter once rang. That's when it strikes him. The realization he didn't just lose a woman, he lost an actual woman. He begins to recall the small things first, the tone of her voice when she cheered him up after a bad day, the way she trusted in him even when he was doubting himself, the gentleness of her eyes when he was too preoccupied to take notice. He recalls the warmth she infused in chilly mornings, the calmness she brought even when life was burdensome. Then he thought those were the norm, something that would never go away. But now, reflecting on it, he knows how uncommon they really were. He knows she wasn't being kind to him, she was showing up in ways nobody else ever did. That's the beauty of an actual woman. She does not simply coexist alongside of you, she invests in you. She puts her energy into your development, your aspirations, your serenity, and because she is so generous, it's simple to assume that her love is boundless, that whatever number of times you take it for granted, it will always replenish itself. But love, even the very strongest, has boundaries when it is not reciprocated. When she was with him, he didn't see the silent sacrifices. He didn't see how much she held in while acting like everything was okay. He didn't notice the nights that she wept beside him as he scrolled through his phone. He assumed her patience was a guarantee, that she would always wait. But now alone, he understands patience isn't a vow, it's an experiment, and she'd test it out. It's ironic how the human mind is. When we possess something precious, we tend to overlook it, thinking there's still time, opportunities, still futures. But when it's lost, when it's truly lost, the world seems different, the music seems hollow, the mornings seem longer, even achievement seems shallow. Nothing fills the void she occupied. It's then that he realizes what he lost wasn't love, it was balance, peace, and the one being who ever saw him. The epiphany doesn't hit like lightning, creeps up. It appears in the little things when he finds himself reaching for his phone automatically to share something funny with her and remembers she isn't there. When he enters a room where she still lingers. When he scrolls through old pictures and can't recall the last time he made her laugh like that. Those painful moments are more difficult than heartbreak itself. They're not reminders of loss, they're mirrors reflecting neglect, and it's in that understanding something inside of him changes. He starts to realize the truth that an actual woman isn't replaced by someone else because she's not convenient, she's about bonding. Her love is not superficial, it's grounded on work, on knowledge, on dedication. And when you lose that, you don't lose a mate, you lose the version of yourself she helped you create. That's why that feeling of epiphany is so painful, because it's not simply about her loss, it's about his awakening. He sees, perhaps for the very first time, what it is actually like to be loved, how he hasn't respected it. And in that moment, regret is his finest teacher. It's a quiet, chastening H that repeats the same message repeatedly. You had something real and you let it slip away. And would you prefer me to carry on with his key point 2 dull years in the same emotional tone and storytelling pace? He didn't lose her suddenly. It was a slow process, practically imperceptible, the way the sun disappears behind the horizon, gradually, softly, and then abruptly it's gone. He grew complacent in her presence, thinking she would always be there regardless. He presumed that since she loved so much, she would endure forever. And in the false security of that presumption, he neglected one of life's most important lessons. Even the greatest heart runs out of steam when it's continuously taken for granted. Initially, he noticed her. Each thing, each word, each gesture of compassion seemed like a miracle. But with the passage of time, her love became the background, familiar, consistent, predictable. She was the constant beat of his existence, and he ceased to hear the melody. He adapted to her good mornings, her check-ins, her tolerance when he was preoccupied. He took her steadiness as something that wasn't an effort, something that would always just be there. That's what happens when one gives you unconditional love. You begin to think it's limitless. You begin to feel it's your right, not your privilege. He didn't understand that it's okay she uttered was another wrinkle in her forgiving him, another thread of her strength pulled taut. He didn't understand that every time she remained quiet during a fight, she was opting for peace over pride. He assumed that her tranquility indicated indifference, but in reality, it was restraint, the kind that is created out of love, not weakness. She was the kind of woman who did not require attention, she commanded it from her presence. She did not beg for affection, she gave it willingly, hoping it would be reciprocated, but when her attempts were rebuffed, when her concern was rewarded with convenience, she began to recede, not with rage, but with depletion. Because that's how things go with actual women. They don't blow up, they drain. Gradually, the flame dissolves, the laughter dissolves, and the light in their eyes fuses into remoteness. He never imagined that her silence would be more painful than any word. He never imagined that her silence would be more audible than her voice. But that is the irony. When she was present, her presence merged so harmoniously into his reality that he couldn't envision life without it. Now, that silence is all that he is aware of. The words that don't arrive, the rings that don't sound, I love you, that used to ground his day, all substituted by silence, by empty space, by the knowledge that her energy used to occupy every inch of his existence. And this is the worst part. He believed he had time. He believed there would be another day to apologize, another evening to correct it, another opportunity to be present. But when an actual woman gives you everything, she gives it on the expectation that you will recognize her value before she walks away. She does not leave on a whim. She leaves after she realizes that staying means losing herself. Now, he can look back and see the pattern, how many times she'd attempted, how many times she lingered when she should have left. He recalls her little gestures, the ones he'd dismissed as habit, ensuring he ate, checking on him when he'd been strange, standing up for him when others questioned him. Those were never little things. They were her manner of loving him, her manner of saying, Sue, I believe in you. But love without gratitude withers. Even the most generous heart wearies of being invisible. He believed her love was unconditional. It was not. It was reciproca, holding its breath for him to equal her effort, her devotion, her devotion. And when he failed to, she gave him something much worse than wrath. She gave him indifference. That's the point of no return. When her heart ceases to reach out and her love ceases to wait, that's when he finally realizes that he never lost her whole. He lost her in pieces each time he prioritized comfort over intimacy, ego over compassion, silence over the effort. By the time he realized it, she was gone, not because she ceased to love him, but because she finally began to love herself more. Would you have me proceed to key point E3 vi, power of a real woman's love? Then in this very same emotional cinematic voice, power of a real woman's love is one that most men never truly comprehend until she's lost, until the warmth that once enveloped them becomes quiet, and the comfort that so easily sat with them is something they can now only touch in memory. A true woman's love is not boisterous. It doesn't require proclaiming itself. It's consistent, it's patient, and it's anchored in how she shows up for you every day. It's not affection, it's investment. She doesn't stand with you when things are great. She supports you when life begins to unravel. When a true woman loves, she doesn't do it halfway. She gives from a place of authenticity. She hears the words you don't say, feels your energy before you do, stands by you even when you're at your worst. She sees your potential even when you're mired in self-doubt. Her love is a form of faith, one that urges you to grow, to rise, to become something greater than what you are. It's not perfection, it's progress. She doesn't want you to be perfect. She just wants you to try. And that's what makes her love so strong. It's not founded on fantasy or terms, it's founded on commitment. She picks you again and again, even on the days when you make it difficult. Her affection is an anchor when the world is crazy, a reminder that you are not by yourself. But that very affection, as powerful as it is, can only flourish when it's honored, because the minute a true woman feels disrespected, something within her changes. But out of clarity, see, she's not merely loving you, she's giving you access to her soul. She's opening up her most vulnerable areas, her trust, her softness, her faith in love itself. She's teaching you what it is to be cared for without conditions, to be seen, to be nurtured. And if that's taken for granted, it doesn't just hurt her, it teaches her. A true woman learns from pain. She converts it into strength, into boundaries, into wisdom. And once she does, that same power that once healed you becomes the power that heals her instead. Her love can elevate a man. It can inspire him to chase his dreams harder, to believe in his purpose, to see himself the way she sees him. But if he does not reciprocate that love, if he abuses it or neglects it, it can shatter him too, not because she seeks revenge, but because losing something innocent alters you. When he sees that the serenity she brought was no accident, that her love wasn't interchangeable, that the way she made him feel wasn't normal, That's when it strikes him just how strong she was. You see, a woman's true love isn't emotional, it's spiritual. It's a force that accumulates, defends, and transforms. She can quiet a storm inside a man without even speaking. Her touch, her words of encouragement, just her presence, they have the power to alter his entire state of existence. She can be the difference between him enduring and thriving, but that's why losing her stings so badly, too. Because after that energy's gone, the world's colder, the air is heavier, the motivation that previously came so naturally begins to wane, and that's when he starts to understand it wasn't only that she loved him, it was how she loved him, with purpose, with regularity, with concern that didn't expect anything in return. That sort of love doesn't show up very often. It's uncommon, holy, nearly divine. And once lost, no degree of superficial affection will suffice. And so when a man loses an actual woman, he doesn't merely lose a relationship, he loses the image of his better self because she loved him not for what he was, but for what he could be. And when that type of love is gone, he doesn't merely miss her, he misses the man he was while she loved him. Would you prefer me to go on with there's a point in every relationship when something shifts, not loudly, not dramatically, softly in the way she glances at you, the way she speaks fewer words, the way her energy begins to wane. That's the time when a true woman gives up trying. It's not an explosion, it's an end passed off as peace. And by the time he realizes it, it's already too late. When she gives up, it doesn't imply that she gave up on love. It means she's finally understood that love is not enough if effort is not reciprocated. For years, she gave, she poured, she believed, hoping someday he would meet her halfway. She spelled out her needs kindly at first, then firmly, then silently. And when silence was all she could muster, that was her way of saying, I've done all I can. Because a true woman doesn't leave without a battle. She leaves when the battle turns one-sided. She used to be concerned with all the little things, what he did that day, if he ate, if he was all right, even if he told her he was fine. She would plan, start conversations, reach out first, apologize first, forgive first. But then the dynamic changes when she comes to the realization her effort has become expectation and love is work. She begins to withdraw her energy, not because she wants to hurt him, but because she wants to take care of herself. She is exhausted with the same cycle, exhausted giving everything and receiving nothing that fills her soul. That's the difference with an actual woman's breaking point. It's not tears or yelling, it's surrender. It's the point where she looks at him and finally sees clearly, sees the pattern, the excuses, inconsistency, and knows she can't alter what he won't repair. And when she accepts that reality, something within her switches. Her love doesn't die, it just redirects. It directs itself inward. She begins to love herself, all the areas he didn't. He won't even realize it at first. She'll still smile. She'll still be kind. She'll still do the little things. But it won't be with her heart anymore. Her laughter will be different. Her hugs will feel distant. Her eyes will no longer light up when he enters the room. She'll begin to find tranquility in alone time, ease in being with herself. And when she's silent, really silent, that's when he should be afraid, because that silence indicates she's already released in her head, even if her body remains. When she gives up, he'll sense it in ways he doesn't understand. The messages won't be as frequent. The warmth in her voice will be gone. The way she used to gaze at him like he was her entire universe will become a placid indifference, and that indifference will hurt more than anger ever will, because anger implies that she still cares enough to be angry. Indifference implies she's finished. And when he discovers she is slipping away, he will rush to mend it. He'll send texts, promise things, change. But she's beyond the point of being convinced by words. She needed deeds, and that opportunity is lost. Once an actual woman has reached her emotional peak, no strings of apology can repair what her disappointment has wrecked. She doesn't depart with bitterness, she departs with grace. She doesn't curse him for failing to realize her value, she just acknowledges that he wasn't ready for her caliber of love. And in that acknowledgement lies her liberation. Because once a true woman exhausts all options, she exhausts all pleas for connection and begins to choose herself, that's when she becomes invincible. Not because she loved him no longer, because she remembered how to love herself once more. And the bitter irony, that's the one he will never forget, the one who at last walked away serene, empowered, beautiful. The one who no longer required him to make her see her value because at last she saw it for herself. When she's gone, the world doesn't collapse in an instant. It simply begins to lose its color. The air thickens. The days become indistinct. The quiet in the room is oppressive. It's not that she's gone, it's that everything that was touched by her now seems to be without purpose. That's the emptiness a true woman leaves behind, not a loud absence, but profound. The type of emptiness that resonates in spaces he never imagined could be so silent. He tries to convince himself at first that he's okay. He distracts himself, covers the pain under habits, work, din, anything to avoid sensing the truth. But it finds its way in anyway. Small things strike the hardest: the vacant space on the bed, the unworn coffee cup she'd always fill, the lack of her morning text that once began his day on a warm note. He scrolls through his phone, getting a message from her, something innocuous like "drive safely" or "I love you." Only silence, and it's when it begins to hit him she really is gone. He comes to realize now that her presence wasn't something pleasant to have, it was the glue that held all of it together. Her laughter had a way of bringing life to the house. Her vitality illuminated even the most mundane days. She was his tranquility amid turmoil, his reminder of what is important, and life feels strange without her. Even the very things he previously enjoyed feel hollowed, devoid of the happiness they once brought him. For she wasn't simply a part of his existence, she was his, and he never realized it until she was gone. This is when guilt creeps in. He replays each conversation, each argument, each moment he could have selected understanding over ego. He recalls her eyes, the way they once shone bright with love, and how gradually the light went out because he ceased to nourish it. He believed she was asking for too much attention, communication, energy, but now he realizes she was only asking for the absolute minimum: to be valued, to be seen, to be loved back with the same passion she loved him with. The emptiness she leaves is not just emotional, but spiritual. Her leaving makes him confront himself, to realize the type of man he was when she loved him, and the type of man he turned into when he gave up trying. Without her, he begins to realize his faults clearly: the selfishness, the complacency, the little ways he failed her. And with that awareness comes the agony of realizing that she would have forgiven him if only he'd shown up one more time, tried one more time, cared one more time. He begins to miss the things he used to take for granted: her little reminders, her counsel, the manner in which she had faith in him when he had no faith in himself. He misses the way she could make everything okay just by being present, how her presence brought peace, even if everything else didn't make sense. And what stings the most is realizing that someone else may now get to enjoy that: her laughter, her light, her love, the very things he once took for granted. That's when the realization is too much to bear. She wasn't too emotional, she wasn't too much. She was authentic, and he wasn't ready for authentic. He mistaken her depth for drama, her consistency for clinginess, her care for control. And now, as he sits in the quiet she left behind, he realizes that what he thought was normal was really extraordinary. That emptiness, that place she used to hold, is the most deafening reminder of what he has lost. It accompanies him everywhere: in music, in recollections, in the quiet of the night. It's not loneliness he feels, it's the heft of all the things he didn't do, all the things he didn't say, all the things he imagined he had time for. And regardless of who he encounters, no matter how hard he is trying to get over it, he'll have that emptiness with him, because after you lose a real woman, you never really outlive the feeling that she is not there. Regret, it's the educator who always comes too late, but never departs without leaving an imprint. When he loses a real woman, regret is his unfailing friend. It doesn't yell, it whimpers, again and again, haunting him with each instant he did take for granted. It's the subtle pain that comes at night when distractions unravel and reality sets in. It's the epiphany that all the things he considered insignificant, the words he let go unheeded, the apologies he never made, the love he never reciprocated, were indeed the most significant instance of them all. Regret is an odd thing. It tends to humble a man. It peels away the pride, the rationalizations, the excuses. It makes him see himself truthfully, not the illusions he once hid behind. He recalls the fights that did not count, the barriers he erected for nothing, the times she reached out and he repelled her. At the time, he believed he was right, believed he was in charge, but now he understands that every hard silence, every cold shoulder, every "I don't care" was another brick in the wall that eventually closed her out entirely. And when the epiphany hits him, it doesn't just hurt, it torments him. He relives moments such as scenes in a movie, wishing he could turn the clock back, alter his tone, listen longer, grasp her more. Regret leads him to realize how much she loved him, not because she owed it to him, but because she wanted to, even when he did not deserve it. It is in those flashbacks that he comes to understand how unique she was, how faithful, how tolerant, and the burden of that truth is more crushing than any heartbreak he's ever known. Regret is unkind because it doesn't provide second chances. It tells you precisely what you might have done differently, but never allows you to do so. It makes you long for the impossible. One more talk, one more hug, one more opportunity to say, I see you now. Real women don't wait for you to wake up, though. When they're finished, they're done, not in anger, but in self-respect. She gave him time, opportunities, love, forgiveness, and now she's giving herself what he was incapable of, peace. That's the strength of regret. It makes love become memory and memory become lessons. He begins to understand that she wasn't demanding perfection. She was demanding partnership. She wasn't demanding he change overnight. She was demanding he care enough to try. And each and every woman who follows her will be a reminder of her to him in some form. Her smile, her courage, her laughter. But none will ever equal how she made him feel. For regret has shown him that what he lost was irreplaceable. It was once in a lifetime. Occasionally, he'll catch sight of her somewhere, perhaps a photo on the internet, perhaps in passing, and she'll be smiling, different, lighter, and that will shatter him all over again. Because regret doesn't only remind you of how you messed up, it shows you how someone else is doing it right. It reminds him that as he was learning how to love her, someone else had already mastered how to love her. That's when regret shifts from H to insight, the one that lasts a lifetime. The thing is, regret does not kill a man, it reconstructs him. Gradually, in agony, it makes him grow. It makes him learn empathy, humility, sensitivity. He begins to realize what true love entails, effort, availability, speaking, and even if he cannot reverse the past, he can decide that he will never do the same thing wrong again. That's the secret benefit within the suffering. Regret becomes wisdom, and wisdom becomes progress. But it doesn't take away the pain, for no matter how much he grows up, part of him will forever regret what could have been if he only knew sooner how valuable she was. Regret is the reminder of her love, always present, reminding him of the woman who believed in him before he did, and of the man that only appeared when she loved him. When she does return, if indeed she ever does, she is not the same woman he has remembered. There is something inside of her that has changed. Softness that was characteristic of her love remains but is guarded. Her heart, once open and full of trust, now bears the imprint of what it did to her to love and not be appreciated. When she comes back, she does not come back to take up from where she stopped. She comes back as a person who has learned what heartbreak can teach and lived to tell the tale. He may recognize her face, her voice, her laugh, but the energy is different. It's relaxed, composed, detached in a way that's difficult to put into words. He'll gaze into her eyes and see that the warmth he used to take for granted has become something greater, self-respect. That very same love that once flowed so freely is now deliberate, thoughtful, guarded, because she's learned that not everyone warrants the full height of her giving. When she loved him earlier, she loved blindly. She trusted his words, his potential, his promises. Pain modifies the nature of a heart's love. Now she seeks consistency rather than charm. She appreciates peace above passion, clarity above chaos, and deeds over apologies. That she didn't love him anymore. It's that she learned to love herself more, and that change transforms everything. He may expect her to remain the same, to laugh at his jokes, to fall back into the same pattern, to resume the same rhythm they had, but she doesn't. There is a silent distance now, a strength in the way she does not pursue reassurance. She does not argue, does not plead, does not demonstrate worth. She just watches, because now she knows love isn't established by how desperately she struggles to remain, but by how much she's cherished without necessity. And that variance unsettles him. He knows it, the emotional distance between them, the unspoken wall that wasn't there before. He knows that she's no longer emotionally open in the same manner, no longer willing to lose herself to hold someone else, the one who would bend, compromise, and overgive. She's gone. What he's facing now is a woman reborn out of heartbreak, wiser, tougher, and untouchably calm. He'll attempt to bring the past, hoping nostalgia will drag her back in. He'll remind her of the good times, the latter, the memories. But she's different now, not cold, clear. She recalls those times as well, but she recalls the agony that went with them. And she is no longer willing to exchange her serenity for the ease of familiarity, because once a true woman reunites herself after being shattered, she never lets herself go like that again for anyone. This new version of her doesn't love desperately. She loves with discrimination. She has boundaries without remorse, says her truth without fear, and leaves without hesitation when something is no longer right. Her silence is no longer weakness, it's strength. Her space is no longer indifference, it's a shield. And her love, while quieter now, has more depth than ever because it stems from self consciousness. That's what he doesn't see at first, that she didn't just return older or more withdrawn. She returned evolved, that which once shattered her turned into the cornerstone of her strength. What once made her question her worth became the very reason why she now refuses to accept anything less. And even if part of her still loves him, she's no longer the same woman who fought incessantly to demonstrate it. So when he runs into her again, luminous, elegant, unruffled, it strikes him. She outgrew the version of him that shattered her. He may still be in love with her, but now he's loving someone who doesn't need what he can offer. Because once a true woman discovers she can get along without the love she believed she could not live without, becomes the type of woman no man ever forgets, but few are ever brave enough to deserve twice. The emergence of a true woman takes time. It starts in the silence, in the times when she sits with her hurt, when the world is weighed down, and she questions whether she will ever be herself again. But gradually, without knowing it, begins to rebuild, initially survival, trying not to cry through the day, trying to catch her breath through the pain of all she gave that was not valued. But in time, that survival becomes strength. She begins to recall who she was prior to offering all her love to someone who didn't know how to handle it. Her strength initially appears as distance. She ceases to explain herself. She ceases to defend her value. She ceases to pursue closure from those who shattered her. Her silence is no longer sadness. It is clarity. She knows she doesn't need to prove her worth to anyone, and there lies the beginning of her ascension in the choice to no longer need validation from the one who made her question herself. There's something so strong about seeing an actual woman get up from heartbreak. The same heart that wept in the dark now beats with purpose. She begins to do things for herself, not to impress, not to fill up, but to mend. She rediscovers her passions, her laughter, her confidence. She begins to say no to things that deplete her and yes, to things that give her peace. The woman who used to exist to make other people happy starts to exist for herself, and that's when she gets unstoppable. It's not a revenge, it's a rebirth. She's not attempting to tell him what he's lost. Although he'll know it deeply. She's telling herself what she's gained. Begins to see that her value was never placed on who remained or departed. It was always there inside of her and waiting to be remembered. And now that remembrance has turned into power. The beauty of her rise is in the transformation, not from broken to bitter, but from broken to balanced. She doesn't carry resentment. She carries wisdom. She doesn't look back in anger. She looks back with understanding. She knows that the pain had a purpose. It taught her boundaries, self-love, and the courage to never settle for half-hearted love again. Each scar is a reminder of how strong she is, each tear a symbol of how much she used to love and how far she has traveled. And the world takes notice. Same passion that previously made her easy to ignore now makes her impossible to ignore. There's a radiance about her, not because she's attempting to be noticed, because she finally sees herself. Her smile reemerges not because everything is perfect, but because she's at peace. She no longer desires love to make her whole. She desires love that enhances her. That distinction turns everything around. Meanwhile, he observes her from afar, happy, laughing, radiant, and it strikes him she didn't move on, she leveled up. The hurt he inflicted was her strength. Emptiness he left was her room to grow. The tears she shed constructed the pillars of her self-assurance. She's not anymore the woman who needed him in order to be loved. She's the woman who realized love begins with herself. That's the emergence of an actual woman. The instant she takes back her narrative, she doesn't bear the burden of who hurt her anymore. She bears the radiance of who she's become. She's softer, stronger, wiser, yet still gentle, open, yet no longer innocent. And in that equilibrium, she discovers something more beautiful than love, freedom. That's when she really gets up, when her peace is louder than her pain, and her self-worth shines brighter than any apology that never arrived. And from there on in, she doesn't look back because she's finally learned that she was never meant to be finished by anyone. She was meant to rise by herself. Now he feels it, all of it. The heavy weight of her absence, hurt of his decisions, the empty silence where her laughter once dwelled. It's not only sorrow that he experiences, it's the profound hurt of acknowledgement. He now knows what he had and what he lost. He believed that he'd be okay. That time would dull the ache, that he could simply move on. But time doesn't heal regret, it makes it bigger. Each day she's not there is a reminder of just how lighter, happier, and more alive his world was when she was part of it. He notices the emptiness first. The mornings are different, colder, quieter. There's no good morning text, no voice wishing him luck at the start of a big day, no one to inquire if he's had breakfast or if he's all right. He begins to realize how much she had filled his life with tenderness, not love exactly, but presence. She was threaded into the cadence of his daily life, and now every stillness feels her absence. He aches for her voice, her smell, her vitality, the way she could soothe him with a glance or provoke him to laughter even when he didn't care to laugh. And then the guilt begins, that crushing, smothering kind of guilt that hits you when you know you were the issue. He plays back moments in his mind, attempting to pinpoint the last time he had truly made her smile. Not the strained, practiced smile she wore towards the end, but the real one, the one that filled her entire face. He recalls the way her eyes would light up when she looked at him, how that light began to wane, and how he did nothing to revive it. He realizes now that her withdrawal was not indiscriminate. It was a reaction to his abandonment. He's envious as well, not of another man, but of whoever ends up with the version of her that followed him. The braver, smarter, more liberated version. He watches her living her life, smiling again, perhaps even loving again, and he understands she recovered from what shattered her, the very thing he believed she'd never be able to get over. And that burns. For while she recovered, he's still at the same stand, tormented by what he lost. He feels smaller now, not because she made him feel so, but because he can see how much she raised him up without him ever knowing it. She had faith in what he could do, reminded him of his value, challenged him to become more. She was his mirror, reflecting back his best self when he wasn't able to see it himself. Without her, that self-reflection is lost, and he's left to confront his own shortcomings without the illumination she once cast upon them. All the songs remind him of her. All the locations they visited together weigh heavier. Even his greatest memories taste bitter because they no longer comfort only of what has been lost. He comes to understand that love does not dissipate, it leaves marks. She's in all of it. The way he thinks, the way he feels, even the way he loves today. Because no matter who comes after her, they will always be compared to her, and that comparison will never be just. And here's the part he never anticipated. He's also proud of her. Proud that she gained strength, proud that she took herself, proud that she turned into everything he was too oblivious to value. That pride cuts deep, for it tells him that she didn't need him to be at her best. She needed to let him go. That realization is not easy to bear. So yes, he regrets it. He yearns. He loves, truly loves, but too late. He now knows what a real woman is not a woman who loves you, a woman who teaches you how love is supposed to feel by giving it and then withdrawing it when it is not earned. Now he takes that lesson with him wherever he goes. He doesn't speak of it much, but he senses it in his spirit, the empty pain where her presence once lingered. And while life continues and individuals move and relocate, no one shall ever make him feel as she did. Because once a man loses an actual woman, he doesn't merely lose love, he loses the self that was most fully alive when she loved him. This is not just the tale, his tale, of one man losing one woman. It's the tale of us all. It's the way we take love for granted until it slips away. How often we assume people will always be there, waiting, forgiving, staying until they finally stop. Every one of us has someone we should have appreciated more, someone whose presence we treated like permanence. But love isn't permanent. It's a living, breathing thing. It requires care, gratitude, and intention. And when you neglect it, it withers, even the strongest kind. So the lesson is easy but harsh. Don't wait until loss is your teacher. Don't wait for the quiet to see what someone's laughter meant. Don't wait for distance to see what their presence gave you. Because when a genuine woman leaves, or someone who loved you so much, what you lose isn't them. You lose some part of yourself that only lived for their love. A2. Appreciation is the foundation of love. The reality is, love is never about sweeping gestures. It's about showing up every day. It's every day, I love you. The tiny thank you. The effort to listen, to care, to show up even when it's inconvenient. Appreciation doesn't cost a thing, but without it, you can lose everything. When you've got someone who keeps choosing you again and again, even when life becomes complicated, even when you're hard to love, that is not normal. That is holy. And we far too often only learn the value of that holy love after we've broken it. So if you're lucky enough to have that kind of person in your life right now, don't just say you love them, show it, protect it. Because when you stop appreciating someone who gives their all, you teach them that their love is better spent elsewhere. T3, real love demands growth, and actual relationship is not about being perfect, it's about development. A real woman's love or a real partner's love isn't present to make you comfortable, it's present to make you better. It pushes you, it keeps you in check. It demands that you be your best you, not just for her, but for you. And if the pressure intimidates you, keep in mind, comfort never established greatness. Lasting love is growing love. If you are not growing together, you are falling apart. So learn to match effort with effort, love with love, depth with depth. Don't just want to be loved, learn to give love the way you would like to receive it. Key 4, for the ones who walked away, and to the women, or the men who had to leave someone they devoted themselves to completely, you didn't lose. You grew up. You didn't fail because they didn't realize your worth. They failed to meet the standards of your love. The pain you endured wasn't punishment, it was preparation. It was molding you into the best version of yourself, who is aware of your worth, who no longer accepts half measures. You are not too much. You were just too genuine for someone who wasn't prepared. And that's all right, because one day someone else will notice in you what they couldn't, and they'll handle it like the gift it is. Until then, continue to rise, continue to shine, and continue to choose peace over people who can't meet you where you are. K5, for the ones who realize too late, and to those who are dwelling in regret, the ones who realize they let a real one get away. Listen, you can't undo what's done. You can do something about what comes next. Let that hurt awaken you. Let it instruct you on how to love more, communicate more, and enjoy more quickly. Don't have your story end with loss. Have it start with change. If you ever have another shot with someone else, don't make them pay for the errors of your past. Be here. Be intentional. Be thankful. Regret only hurts you if you allow it to. But if you harness it, if you turn it into understanding, it can help make you the kind of person who never takes love for granted again. He 6. The final truth, here's the reality that holds it all together. True love doesn't die. It morphs, it transforms, it educates, it leaves lessons behind after the person is dead. The love of a true woman, or anyone who gave you something pure, will ring in your heart long after they've walked out. The question is, will you let it haunt you or heal you? Because ultimately, that's what life affords us. Time to learn, time to change, time to love harder. You don't have forever. The people you love don't either. So don't wait for the quiet to come alive and wake you up. Thanks while you can. Put in work while it counts. Love like it's precious, because it is. And 7, closing reflection, the Tony Robbins energy shift. So tonight, if you're hearing this and considering someone you took for granted, don't just feel it. Do something about it. Send the message. Call the number. Apologize. Thank them. Because the most painful words a person can ever utter are, I thought we had more time. And if you're the one who had to walk away, hold your head high. You didn't lose. You found yourself. You became the lesson. You became the standard. You became the proof that love isn't about staying when it hurts. It's about choosing yourself when it no longer heals. That's the actual lesson for all of us. Never undervalue the strength of a true heart, and never take for granted the love that only a true one can provide. Because when a true woman leaves, that's not the end, that's the start of your wake-up call.